The purpose behind Angel's Egg at first seems lost within its world. Images dance across the screen as if telling a tale of sorrow. As the story takes you deeper, the world only gets more confusing, more complex. Things stop making sense, that is, if they ever made sense at all. What is the purpose of Tenshi no Tamago? What was Mamoru Oishi, the man who would later create Ghost in the Shell, trying to tell us? The answer may be easier to find than you think. A story defining the struggle of faith. Two polarizing characters at its center. This is making sense of Angel's Egg. The world as we know it does not exist in this plane of reality. Even the logistics of this world are sheltered from our perception to the very end of this tale. Yet to understand this story, it's best to explain its history now. What we see here is all that's left of humanity. On top the ruins of the Ark of Noah, what remains living clings to life. In this world, God forgot about Noah. The deity flooded the earth for 40 days and 40 nights as he said he would, wiping his creations from existence, only allowing Noah and a small portion of life to be saved. Yet when the time had come and the 40 days had ceased, the waters didn't dry. Noah, as instructed, sent out a bird, the dove, a symbol of faith, which would return to them when God gave the all clear. Yet no matter how long they waited, the dove did not return. So much time had passed, they eventually forgot about the dove, about their faith in God, their hope for an end to the high waters. Eventually the idea of their God died out. He no longer served his creations. He seemingly forgot them. An unknown amount of time passes. At some point, an egg rises from a tree amidst the ruins of the Ark. An egg which contained a bird, one we could take to be a dove, maybe the dove. It swells into the darkened skies, reaching out to an unknown god for a sign. Yet it receives no answer. Life atop these ruins slowly withers, forever remains a few steps away from death. Living things, including the fishermen of the town atop the Ark, begin to turn to stone, an allegory for their endurance and their faith, even in the face of being forgotten by that which they are faithful to. They chase the shadow of fish, a symbol of salvation, no matter how many spears they fling at these shadows. They can't even reel one in. For the fishermen, salvation remains out of their reach, though they will endure this fate nonetheless. The bird egg stands as an ominous pillar of hope and sorrow just outside the village. It does nothing but remind those of the continued struggle to contact the neglectful God, yet also a symbol of perseverance in such a dark age. For at an unknown time, hope appears before us, a hope that their suffering may one day end. An egg, one that holds more meaning than it does purpose. Protecting it, a girl who has faith it will bring the life of a dove from its essence. If the dove were to return, then their struggles may end. Their God will finally return to bring them salvation. This is, in a sense, what the hope is. Yet the girl knows nothing of the greater existence of the dove. She cares for it simply out of blind faith. She believes it to be right and just. She is ignorant, and that makes her the most devout of faith. In the absence of understanding lies the most pure of intentions. She does not spite God for forsaking the people of the Ark. She merely goes about her life, protecting this egg which was entrusted to her by the fates. For an unknown amount of time, she watches over the egg as the boy presses closer. The boy's travels have brought him to the village. From where he came, we cannot be sure. Possibly from the heavens itself. Maybe an entirely different dimension. The ruins of this land are only so big, and the land he first appears in seems otherworldly. The answer to where he comes from, however, is not so important. Judging from the machinery that accompanies his arrival, we can assume that his travels have to do with conquest or occupation. His hands are wrapped by bandages covering his palms. He carries with him a weapon in the shape of a cross. It is all too obvious the boy is the Jesus of this story, a symbol of atonement, of penance. Upon his shoulders, the boy carries the greatest penance of all, abandonment. It seems God has even forsaken his own earthly medium. What they did to deserve such a divine punishment is uncertain. The idea of God works in strange ways throughout cultures. Sometimes there isn't always a just reason behind the deity's actions in these stories. From the expression on his face, we know immediately the boy does not hold the same ideals of this girl. His mission is clear from the moment his feet touch the ground. The boy will smash the egg, for that is his greater purpose. But the why behind this is the only thing that truly matters.
大切なものは お腹の中に入れておかなければ。
What first comes off as a line misread makes more sense when the egg is replaced with the idea it represents, that of faith. The girl is protecting her beliefs, yet if left in the open for others' eyes to see, it can be easily shattered. Learning of new ideals, of different ways of life can destroy your current state of faith. And this line from the boy is a warning of what may come to pass. She is sheltered in her faith. It is yet to be tested or exposed to reality. She lives innocently in a world of her own perception, weak from her lack of experience, by ideals that can't explain the cruelty of this world. Oddly, even knowing his purpose is to shatter the egg, the boy refrains from doing so here. It's telling. It would seem his reason for breaking the egg isn't to take away the girl's faith, rather show her what's inside. It seems the time, though, is not upon them just yet. The girl is ever ignorant to the inner workings of the boy's minds, and this goes both ways. The boy sees faith as is, the lack of logistical reasoning, blind trust in something you can't see, devotion to a higher purpose. Yet he can't understand why the girl would blindly serve. For a person who has experienced the dark side of faith, blind servants becomes difficult. It would seem he's experienced distrust in the God. He's chosen to renounce his faith after an event misshapen his beliefs. He intends to expose the girl to the same reality that he has come to face, that faith is an empty concept. The two talk of the world's reality. The boy tells her the story of Noah and God's abandonment of his creations, and the girl shows him the stone skeleton of the original dove in his story. This is the place where she had found the egg. To the faithful, this would seem to give the egg some profound meaning. Could it be the reincarnation of the dove that would sign to God? We do not know if that's the answer. All we can do is have faith it is. But faith does not always lead to the happiest of endings. The girl falls asleep, and the boy remains by her side until the moment of testament. Faith is cruel. If broken, your world falls to pieces. Your pillar of belief, of ideals, toppled. Your philosophy of life decays. The girl has been derived of her faith forcefully, and to add to this sorrow, the egg was simply empty, just as the boy predicted. When the girl had commented on feeling a bird within, the boy was dismissive, explaining the anomalies of breath as wind in her own breathing. The girl was so blind to her faith that she was lost in her own world, believing that which she wanted to believe, even with no proof. The boy forced her to face the truth of the egg, not for the purpose of spiting her, nor to take away her life purpose. He had a calling to expose her to what is real. That's it. He leaves her after shattering the egg to allow her time and space to make her own choice as to what she will do next. Will she remain faithful to the hope of salvation despite being faced with the emptiness in faith? Or will she renounce faith and accept reality as it is in the present moment? Will she choose to be a dreamer or a realist? She runs after the boy, and through this series of events, we can assume her answers. She falls through a crack in the Ark ruins, plunging down towards the depths of the ocean. As she sees her reflection on the water's surface, she accepts her fate, and in doing so, she remains hopeful that life will find salvation. As she descends into the depths of the water, her final breath brings forth dozens of eggs to the surface. Her life, at the very end, brought forth faith. We are shown dozens of trees erupted to the sky, each brandishing an egg at the top of their branches. Eggs reaching to the sky as if to call God, show him a sign of their life. Her purpose goes on, even after death. The boy stands on the beach, looking onward at the offing in the distance, as something all too familiar rises from the waters. A massive, mechanical stone sphere emerges. The boy stands steadily as the waves rush over his waist. On the spear we can make out a stone bust of the girl holding the egg in her lap. For her devout faith in the egg, she has been gifted sainthood. This massive spear, as we see, is none other than a symbol of heaven and God, the two ideas one and the same. The boy, however, does not get to experience such a paradise. His reality is of this earth. He is burdened the weight of abandonment for mankind's sake. He holds close the reality of faith, the emptiness, the hope that salvation will come. He does not disregard it, but he does not accept it. He seems closely tied to the betrayal that Noah felt after God abandoned them. And instead of choosing to remain faithful through this betrayal, he chose to renounce it. That's not to say that he doesn't believe in the idea of salvation and the idea that God and heaven represent, but he himself will not give his life to such a purpose as servitude to a God who had abandoned his creations. You can label it as a test of faith, but if faith must be tested through the suffering of others, is there any hope that true salvation awaits? The boy watches as God flies away from these ruins. He would seem to be the only person who can see such an object, both at the beginning of our story and at its end. This speaks to his role in this elaborate dance. He's left among the ruins, having completed what we could see as his objective, forcing others to face reality and allow them to choose how they will overcome this crisis of faith. Will you remain pious and faithful, or will you renounce your faith and find a new reason for existing? A lot of Angel's Egg is left up to interpretation. Your own experiences will impact what you take away from this movie, how you think of the two main characters, what you believe was the reason for its creation. What I see is a story created around a filmmaker's own struggles with faith. I have no need nor reason to analyze Oshi's own spirituality and what exactly he struggled with here, because that's not what's important. This movie isn't about any specific religion or faith. It's not about Christianity. Similar to Evangelion, it's used as a backdrop because the imagery of Christianity is pretty damn cool. Nor is this movie about subscribing to a specific belief structure. It's just about faith in general. People often lump religion and faith as interchangeable words, which is contrary to how it should be. Religion is by definition belief and worship in the divine, governed by a specific system. Faith in itself is belief and trust in the divine despite lack of proof. Faith exists without religion, but religion cannot exist without faith. So the question is, what happens when your faith is brought into doubt? What happens when you begin to feel uncertain? Two options present themselves. You either turn away, blinding yourself to the reality of your new placed doubts, live in ignorance and constant fear, you've devoted your life to lies you no longer believe, or you face these uncertainties head on. The latter is your only good option. Running away will only breed more doubt in your heart. You will only begin to fear the worst, that your faith has been placed in the wrong basket, that you have chosen the wrong path, that you truly know nothing of the world we live in, and what you initially thought housed the answers has been lying to you your entire life, that you have based your beliefs and ideals on lies, that you've lost. This line of thinking is a deterioration of faith all too many face, and what awaits those who choose to ignore their changing perspectives on life. The more you ignore your doubts, the louder their voices will become. But choosing to face them leads to two new options, and this time, neither are wrong. You either ride this storm of fears and anxieties, seek out answers to your faith, and find yourself once again in the same place you started, but with a stronger, unwavering faith in your beliefs, or you reinvent what once was. I can only speak on the latter, as it's the road I chose to take. The structure I was born under was what I believed for a large part of my childhood. I had my seeds of doubt within the system. I saw it as controlling, as a way to force people to conform and think a specific way, and that's just the facts of it. Since the dawn of religion, it was used as a way to control and conform spirituality to a set way of life, a way to dictate the population, instill rules, and create order. I just didn't like that. But the true moment when my faith broke was much different. The priest of my church, the one you see as a kid as the most devout of faith, committed suicide. His death was not treated as a tragedy, but as something to brush under the rug. No one talked about it, for suicide was taboo, an action which would damn you to hell. He was soon replaced by someone new, someone who was more strict and vile. He saw the former priest's actions as sinful, and that was the end of it. He would preach of his own opinions and political beliefs, attempting to conform those that would come to the church to his ideals. I saw this as sickening. That was the moment I knew religion was not something I wanted part of. The politics of it, the systematic way of thinking, the damning of those we once thought of as friends. Sure, there are good parts of the idea of religion. There's good churches. I know that my experience is not run-of-the-mill. Yet for me, who has experienced and seen the bad that it can bring, I can't bring myself to be a part of it. After years of denial, I renounced my faith, because I knew once I renounced it, I'd be faced with a storm of dread and of anxiety. Yet because I put it off, I was already experiencing that. I did not know what I should believe in. of how to take back my life that was once dictated by rules and conformity. It took years of searching for my own answers to arrive at my own conclusions, build up ideals that I found myself strong in, a purpose that would push me forward. That journey was hard, but I wouldn't change that journey for the world. It's allowed me to understand more of the world and its diverse cultures and unique ways of life, the reasons we as people all think differently. For there are those of us like the girl who are devout to their faith, nothing able to shake their beliefs and ideals. There are those of us like the boy who have faced an existential crisis of the self, reinvented ourselves, and desire others to confront their crisis, becoming more refined versions of themselves. There are also those of us who are the fishermen, blindly chasing salvation in its many forms, with no true purpose behind our hunt. My advice to you is be the boy and the girl. Face your beliefs in reality even though they may cause you great discomfort. And whether that road leads you to a strengthened faith, or renouncing and constructing something new, that is in your hands. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.